They're in big trouble, folks. It comes with a clear challenge: solidifying the startup 3-on-3 in an increasingly crowded women's.
Imagine launching a professional sports season on a Monday no one is watching and praying it survive. Monday, January 6th, 2025, was already a chaotic day in American sports. 6 NFL head coaches were fired in a matter of hours on Black Monday, dominating every network, every broadcast, and every conversation in sports circles. Fans, analysts, and insiders were glued to their screens, speculating on which franchises would reset and who would survive the coaching carousel. And while the world was consumed with football, another league quietly stepped onto the court. The venture-backed 3-on-3 women's basketball league, Unrivaled, launched its second season at noon. True TV broadcasted the games while offices buzzed, schools were in session, and most fans didn't even know the season had started. Unrivaled entered an already crowded sports landscape, hoping to carve out a niche as the premier off-season destination for elite women's basketball players. The pitch was simple: high production value, short seasons, 6-figure paydays, and a chance to stay sharp without traveling overseas. On paper, it sounded perfect, but there was a catch. A quiet but alarming one. The league wasn't launching against WNBA preseason coverage or college games. It was up against massive mainstream events, including the anniversary of WWE's global debut on Netflix, and it barely registered in sports media. This wasn't strategic positioning, it was survival mode. Even before the first whistle blew, Unrivaled's leadership faced a sobering reality. Their most important stars weren't on the court, leaving the league vulnerable, exposed, and dependent on hope that their alternative format could sustain attention long enough to matter. When the brightest stars skip your league, the warning signs can't be ignored. Caitlin Clark, the biggest star in women's basketball, didn't just pass on Unrivaled. She openly explained why the 3-on-3 format didn't fit her style. Angel Reese, Sabrina Ionescu, and Aja Wilson, names that drive massive fan engagement, also stayed away. For a league whose business model relies on star-driven viewership, this was devastating. The inaugural season had generated roughly $27 million in revenue, but with a $340 million valuation, flat growth wasn't acceptable. Investors needed rapid expansion, and without marquee players, the league's credibility was at risk. Fans want to watch elite talent play the game they recognize: 5-on-5, full court, with rhythm, spacing, and chemistry. 3-on-3 may work as an alternative, but it's not the game players dream of or the fans demand. And Unrivaled was beginning to realize this gap wasn't just a branding issue, it was structural. As the second season began, attendance was underwhelming. The league celebrated adding 150 seats to its arenas, signaling cautious optimism at best. Every empty chair and muted social media post underscored the vulnerability that even the best marketing strategies couldn't mask. Unrivaled's model, intimate arenas, condensed seasons, and small rosters, was now being tested against the harsh reality. Without stars, without a format fans naturally gravitate toward, and with mainstream events stealing the spotlight, survival wasn't guaranteed. When executives talk about nothing is off the table, it usually means the scoreboard is not in your favor. Unrivaled president Alex Bazell went on record with a statement that was both candid and concerning. "I don't want to speak too much to what's going on behind the scenes, but I've made it very clear we're open to the ecosystem. Nothing is off the table." That's not the language of confidence. That's the language of a league quietly signaling vulnerability. NBA Europe was referenced as an example, showing that leagues sometimes survive by aligning with larger ecosystems rather than standing alone. Bazell wasn't discussing expansion. He was talking preservation. When a professional league openly admits it might need a competitor's help to survive, investors, players, and partners notice immediately. That statement, thinly veiled as optimism, reads as a distress signal dressed in corporate language. The optics matter as much as the numbers, and every decision from here would be scrutinized with suspicion. Unrivaled's survival was no longer about dominating a niche market or attracting stars on its own terms. It was about remaining relevant in an ecosystem rapidly evolving around them, with competing leagues, emerging stars, and a demanding fan base all dictating the rules. Sometimes the competition hasn't even played a game yet, and it already scares you. On the horizon was Project B, a rumored 5-on-5 traveling women's basketball league scheduled to launch the following year. They hadn't announced a broadcast partner, a schedule, or even tipped off a single game. But their mere existence was reshaping Unrivaled's strategy. Why? Because players were already aligning themselves with Project B. Alyssa Thomas and Jewel Lloyd, currently active in Unrivaled, had publicly committed to the new league. That isn't just industry chatter, it's a warning. When athletes publicly pledge themselves to a league that doesn't yet exist, it signals a loss of confidence in the one currently paying them. Project B has an inherent advantage. It's 5-on-5 basketball, the full version, the game everyone grew up playing, the format fans instinctively understand. No modifications, no compromises. Legacy, chemistry, and rhythm, all of these are easier to cultivate in 5-on-5 than in 3-on-3. For Unrivaled, the threat isn't just a rival, it's an existential challenge. Can a 3-on-3 league survive when players and fans increasingly demand the full court experience, and when an alternative promises everything the current model cannot deliver? Empty seats and missing stars tell a story numbers can't fully capture. When the second season kicked off, attendance was underwhelming in arenas that barely held 1,000. Empty chairs were visible, social media engagement was muted, and excitement that once seemed natural had dissipated. The novelty of Unrivaled's first season was gone. Investors who bet big on rapid growth, Series B funding valuing the league at $340 million, now faced a hard truth. Without star power and with limited viewer reach, sustainability was no longer guaranteed. The league was navigating survival, not ambition. The launch timing, noon on a Monday during Black Monday NFL chaos against a major WWE anniversary, reflected broadcast obligations rather than strategic marketing. The harsh reality was unavoidable. The league couldn't depend on external noise to carry it anymore. No matter the production value, basketball players play basketball. Caitlin Clark's refusal to participate wasn't just a personal choice. It was a structural critique. Her style didn't fit the 3-on-3 format. The same went for Angel Reese, Sabrina Ionescu, and Aja Wilson. For elite athletes, the format mattered as much as compensation. Fans crave the stars they follow in the WNBA. Players crave rhythm, chemistry, and full court opportunity. Unrivaled offered paychecks, production value, and exposure, but it couldn't offer the basketball experience the top players wanted. When the core appeal of your product doesn't align with the desires of the talent and the audience, survival becomes the primary objective rather than growth. Unrivaled's challenge was no longer marketing. It was structural. When your future depends on someone else, you're no longer in control. Unrivaled's leaders admitted the league might need the WNBA to survive, a statement unimaginable a year earlier. This wasn't speculation. It was the admission that standalone survival was no longer feasible. The WNBA's upcoming collective bargaining agreement could create exclusivity clauses preventing players from joining outside leagues. Unrivaled's existence and the viability of its second season now hinged on an ecosystem over which it had limited control. Survival required compromise, becoming part of the WNBA system rather than competing against it. Sanctioned partnerships, minor league-style integration, or roster adjustments became the only paths forward. Desperation isn't loud, but it's impossible to ignore. Bizel's public statements were a signal. Nothing is off the table. That's corporate language for urgency, vulnerability, and strategic recalibration. Investors notice, players notice, competitors notice. Once a league signals desperation, the market reacts. Confidence erodes. Fans question commitment. And in professional sports, once doubt enters the ecosystem, survival becomes a fragile proposition. Unrivaled's leadership understood the stakes. Empty arenas, missing stars, and looming competition painted a clear picture. Without decisive action, the league might not see a third season. No amount of marketing can fix a format the stars don't want. 3-on-3 basketball is fun, fast-paced, and television-friendly, but it isn't what elite players and fans are invested in. 5-on-5 is the standard, the legacy, the aspirational game. Project B capitalized on that desire, promising the basketball experience everyone recognizes. Unrivaled's reliance on the modified format created an uphill battle. Star absences, limited arenas, and modest social engagement underscored the structural challenge. Without major adjustments, survival, not growth, defined the league's mission. In professional sports, vulnerability invites vultures, and the clock is ticking. The questions now dominate discussions behind closed doors. Will the WNBA engage with Unrivaled as a sanctioned off-season league? Will Project B launch and render Unrivaled irrelevant? Can Unrivaled survive independently despite losing its star power? Empty seats, missing icons, looming competition, and public admissions of vulnerability paint a stark reality. Survival, not ambition, drives the league forward. Every decision in the next months will determine whether Unrivaled thrives, pivots, or becomes a cautionary tale. The vultures are circling. The clock is ticking. And the next chapter of professional women's basketball is being written, one that will redefine which leagues endure, which stars rise, and which formats fans embrace.
Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more dives into Hollywood's hidden history.